Hello, writers. Have you ever bought a writing craft book someone says you just have to read?
Is it still sitting on your shelf? Have you even cracked the spine?
That's totally me.
Don't ask Renee how many craft books she owns.
Why do we keep buying these books we never read?
We all want to improve as writers, but that's hard to do alone.
That's why we started the Words to Write By podcast, to tackle these books together, chapter by chapter, and learn from their advice.
Or not. Sometimes they're wrong.
Hi, I'm Renee Nelson, former college writing instructor turned full-time writer and podcaster. After many years, I finally have a complete draft of my memoir.
And I'm Kim Smugato, author of the humorous fantasy novel Our Comeback Tour is Slaying Monsters, which is the first book in the Boy Bands and Dragons series, released by Riverfolk Publishing.
And now, on with the podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Words to Write By.
Hey, everybody.
Before we get started, Renee, let's talk about our process group.
In case you are new, we have a writer's process group. We do not workshop each other's work, but we do talk about things going on in our writerly lives. So if you have been writing and you get kind of lonely, because that's a lonely business, come join us and hang out. It's really fun, and it's also free. We meet at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can find us on Meetup. You can also find us on our website at wordstowritebypodcast.com.
And sometimes we get people that just want to sit and listen in. They're writers, but they're maybe not ready to take the next step, or they just want to see what other writers are doing. And, you know, if all you want to do is just sit there in your little Zoom box and just listen, you can do that too.
Yep. All right. Hope to see you there, or at least see this black square on your Zoom channel.
Absolutely. Okay. And now on with the workshop. What are we doing today, Renee?
Oh, boy. We're entering into the business of creative writing. Unfortunately, the days of your publisher doing all of the marketing for you are long past, and we must now take up the mantle as authors to do our own marketing. And so, Kim,
as an example,
and we're going to guinea pig Kim's book because she also has to market her book.
I've got a great publisher. They've done a whole bunch of great stuff, but the fact is that they have multiple books, and my book's been out for 6 months. And, you know, if I'm going to move it more, I need to be more active on social media. I need to figure out how to find an audience that would be interested in this book.
Conveniently, we just talked to somebody about this. In our previous episode, we interviewed Kate Scott, and she gave us a bunch of tools to use with AI to market Kim's book. So we're going to try them out in this workshop episode.
Yeah, and I highly recommend the previous interview we have. It's just full of great information.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use one of the tools she mentioned, which I think is really cool. It was made for neurodivergent people to help them with their tasks. It's called Magic To Do Goblin Tools. It's like the best name ever. Anyway, so Kim, how did you use Magic To Do to help you in your marketing journey?
Well, sometimes you just need to have a list of things to do. And honestly, part of the reason why I haven't been marketing my books, I'm not quite sure where to start. And you do a Google search on it and you get some blog post about marketing the book. And it's very overwhelming or very much not for you, or you're seeing this person doing all this stuff. And often the examples are their own marketing books about marketing, and it doesn't quite connect. So anyway, the point of this is that the to-do list is not going to tell you everything to do, but it's going to cure blank page syndrome.
So, for example, you put in a prompt. Pretty basic.
So my prompt was, I have a fantasy portal book on Amazon. It's been there for 6 months. How can I increase sales?
Yeah, that's pretty standard. Okay, and then it gave you quite a few steps to follow.
And not so much steps, it gave us a bunch of bullet points that we could do, because you don't have to do them in order.
Right. So, for example, the first thing it told her to do was evaluate the current book listing for clarity and appeal. And then the second one is update the book cover if it looks outdated or professional. And then it gives us a whole bunch. And at the very, very end, it says network with other authors and participate in promotional events or author groups.
The format of this is that any of these particular to-do items can be broken up into smaller items. So for evaluate the current book listing for clarity and appeal, I clicked on it and it said to read the book description carefully. identifying any confusing or vague languages, assess the overall tone and style for appeal to the audience. So like, even if you don't choose to use all of them, you've got something. You're not falling down a rabbit hole of just reading other people's advice. I could sit down if I wanted to and actually apply this to my book today. I'm going to look more carefully at this list overall, but I picked 2 to discuss today for the podcast.
So if you are a teacher, this might be a really good tool for students because they see an essay and they're overwhelmed. I don't know what to do with this prompt that you've given me to write this essay. And it would break down each step that a student would have to do in order to write an essay. And I guess you could probably do the same thing if you just put in, I need to make a casserole. It would probably tell you all the steps on how to make a casserole.
I need to sell my house.
Yes.
So then I looked, and 2 of these to-do button things appealed to me. The first was research keywords that potential readers might use to find your book. And keywords are something that is one of those words that marketers use all the time. And so I've always been a little bit hazy on that. And what Renee and I did was we decided to use this to-do list and use other AIs to help us figure out what the to-do list was telling us to do and how to go about doing it. I used Gemini. I wrote in, I've been told that I need to research keywords that potential readers might use to try to find my book on Amazon. What does this mean? It gave me actually a fairly dense document kind of highlighting what it was going to look for. And honestly, it was very difficult to read, but then it had a little button that said, start research. And at that point, it went through its own little list it did, and it pulled up information. And then the nice feature about the most recent Gemini is it gave me links to all the sites it got the information from.
You want to give us a sample of the text it gave us?
Right. So it starts off with Understanding Amazon Keywords, a guide for authors. The process of publishing a book on Amazon involves numerous crucial steps, one of the most vital being the selection of effective keywords. These keywords serve as the fundamental connection between authors and their potential readers, acting as the terms that shoppers type into the Amazon search bar when looking for books or Kindle ebooks. For authors, the objective is for their books to appear prominently, ideally within the top search results. When relevant keywords are entered by prospective buyers, Amazon allows authors to input up to 7 keywords or short phrases for each book, with each entry having a character limit. For optimal results, Amazon suggests utilizing phrases that consist of 2 to 3 words. And it goes on from there. It's pretty long. I definitely think I'll look through it all, but
I kind of want to put that thing in another chatbot and be like, please summarize this. Put it in bullet point form.
So that's actually, I'm sure I could request that. But when you put it into ChatGPT, it actually did give you a bullet point form.
Yeah, ChatGPT, it breaks it down in a very simplistic way. I'm not saying that's better. Put in the prompt, I've been told that I need to research keyword that potential readers might use to find my book on Amazon. What does that mean? And ChatGPT was very enthusiastic. It said, yes, exclamation point. That's super smart advice. And not as intimidating as it sounds. Okay, ChatGPT. You're very weird. I don't like the way it talks to me.
We were also researching the types of people you want to reach on social media. And so you had plugged in a whole bunch of information about my book and what it was similar to. And then you asked this question. It used that previous information to inform the keywords that it gave you. Like the keywords it gives you here are very specific based on my book as opposed to just generic.
So because it had information from when I was putting in previous prompts about Kim's book, it's still going off of that. So what are Amazon keywords? Amazon keywords are the search terms readers type into Amazon search bar when you're looking for your next read. Your job is to figure out what your ideal readers might be searching for and then make sure those words and phrases are associated with your book, either in your Amazon metadata or subtly in your book's description, blurb, title, or subtitle. Think of it like book SEO, but make it star emoji, fantasy, and vibe star emoji. What does that mean? But make it fantasy and vibes. What does this mean, Kim?
Are you asking about why it uses the star emojis?
Yeah.
I think it just makes it kind of pop up. I mean, it's talking about vibes. So like sprinkle stars.
Who does ChatGPT think I am?
Well, they think you're me because you said
Is
this
that
was
how
your book.
you talk to people?
Well, vibes are actually a pretty big part of my book.
Okay. And then it says example keywords based on your book. So as opposed to Gemini, ChatGPT just kind of like took the next step and was like, well, if this person is asking for what these things are, maybe this person wants it to do the work for me.
Right.
And so it is.
And for Gemini, I didn't actually plug in that information. So it didn't know who I was. For all it knew, I was writing a book on hospice care or something. So it's not going to jump in and tell me stuff. But this one has examples. So why don't you read a couple that you like and tell me if you think it fits my book.
Comedic fantasy adventure is really spot on. Cozy fantasy with magic. Well, like
As opposed to cozy fantasies without magic? Non-magical cozy fantasies.
well, what if that could also be a word for like romance, right?
Cozy?
Cozy fantasy.
No. Cozy fantasy and romantasy are two separate things.
Okay. All right, dear listener.
Neither subgenre would you particularly enjoy. I suggest you stay away from both of them.
Will do. Duly noted. All right. So this one I really like. Sarcastic Chosen One books. Mm-hmm. That's pretty fun. Then it has fandom and tropes keywords. One of them is a bard fantasy novel.
Which is funny because actually none of my characters end up being bards.
Well, they're all bards.
No, none of their classes are bards.
They are bard. I mean, they're a boy band. That is what it is. They have a subclass then of
They subclass
bard.
of bard. Okay.
Okay. Then they have, found family fantasy. Fantasy with pop culture. Then they've got reader interest in nostalgia. NSYNC fantasy novel. Backstreet Boys meets Dungeons and Dragons. Fantasy books for 90s kids. Oh, and it even says, where are these keywords go on Amazon? Like, talk about like just spoon feeding you the steps here. It's when you publish through Kindle Direct Publishing, Amazon asks you for 7 backend keywords. Readers don't see these, but they help Amazon decide. Your book subtitle. And so it's really telling you what to do. And then it says what your goal is. Interesting. Use words and phrases your ideal reader might literally type in to find a book like yours. They give you some examples. Funny fantasy books with heart, like T. Kingfisher. I'm surprised it didn't already just do it for you, where these keywords might go. I could ask ChatGPT to give me the 7 backend keywords and the book subtitle. All I'd have to do is put the jacket copy into ChatGPT and it would do all the work for me.
Right. Although then we're kind of getting a recursive because the back jacket cover is also part of the stuff that people search for. So the keywords thing also are a way to kind of get some other stuff in there. Like if we just repeat what's on the back cover, then we're not actually increasing the chance of people finding my book because anyone that would have searched for that information was searched for it already in the last 6 months.
So we could ask it to, please come up with 7 back-end keywords.
Right. That's probably what we want to do.
So I tend to be heavy-handed. So I guess everyone's going to have their own style of using this stuff. I tend to be heavy-handed in the sense that like I try to tell it exactly what I want and my prompts are very long. I would have given it the jacket copy. I would have been like, well, here it is, man. Like, you don't have to guess at all, ChatGPT. Here's all the information that I have so that you can be the most informed. Whereas Kim,
we all love those kind of manders that know exactly what to do and they want us to do exactly what they want us to do.
Wait, what?
You're right. It's very heavy-handed.
I'm very heavy-handed.
But like from a manager standpoint, you wouldn't want to do that to an employee because it kind of like saps their excitement about doing something.
Interesting. I wonder if I did this to my students. I'm sorry. Maybe I have sapped their interest in doing anything. Anyway,
no, there's a difference between instruction and management. That's two separate things. I mean,
right.
Instruction, like, if you're teaching someone, you want to teach them how to do it and they are there to learn. But like you said, I like to be a bit more open with my prompts and I like to kind of see what the chatbot comes up with because I don't want to have just stuff that I already know. I want to see if it knows anything else I don't know.
Right, exactly. So they are very different. One had more information and one didn't. I like the way ChatGPT did it, but it feels very basic. Like to me, I wouldn't necessarily trust it because I don't know. I feel like I would want to ask more of different, like Claude,
Mm-hmm.
because this one, I don't know. I don't like how it talked to me. It made me feel like they think I am a person that I am not, and therefore is only giving me information that a person that it thinks I am would need. And I think I want more in-depth stuff because I perhaps feel I'm smarter than star emoji. That's just me.
Well, one thing that Kate talked about is that some people think you have to have just like one perfect prompt and it's going to give you what you want. Her opinion was that you do more iterative stuff. So like if we were searching this, you might take the point about 7 back-end keywords and say, could you give me some suggestions for my book on these keywords? And then you could say, well, I like number 3, but 4 doesn't feel right. Can you do more like number 3? So you can build as you go along, which is also really good when you have your chat histories. And if we didn't mention this previously, if you're using the temp version of ChatGTP and then you log in, you'll lose whatever stuff you did researching first.
Wah, wah. Yeah.
My conclusion is I need to, I got it here in my Gemini Amazon keyword guidelines, what to avoid.
Oh, I just like copied and pasted that shit.
Oh yeah, because like you can actually see here, there's the sources right there.
So now we got all this information. Are we ready to just go on social media and do it? No!
Well, so this is one stage. I wanted to know a little more about keywords and how to think about my book. But then there's actual marketing to people and finding out who to send these things to.
Are we ready for that?
I think so.
All right. So Kate talked about this thing in the previous episode about personas. So you're kind of like building a character out of your audience that you're going to be writing to, or you're building a person essentially to market to and to be in a way when you're posting. And so we're going to use AI to help us build a character for marketing purposes.
Right. So the idea is rather than I'm marketing to 18 to 36-year-olds in middle class, in English speaking, who read this many fantasy books a year, you create a person that has all these traits. And that, I mean, in a way, you're still applying to all those things, but it's a better way of thinking about it, maybe. In creating a persona, I was recommended to have comp titles. The idea isn't for me to tell the chatbot that I'm looking at females or anything like that. I'm looking for people that like certain things, that act certain ways. And I wrote, I'm trying to create a persona of someone who would be interested in my humorous portal fantasy book. My comps are Long Live Evil by Sarah Reese Brennan, the Star Metal Symphony series by Alex White, and How to Become the Dark Lord by Django Wexler. The tone of my writing is similar to T. Kingfisher and Becky Chambers. My book would also appeal to people who play Dungeons & Dragons. My readers in their youth would have been fans of at least one of these bands, New Kids on the Block, Backstreet Boys, and Sync One Direction. And I got these names by looking at some similar books that I knew had these plots where somebody goes to another world, they bring their pop culture references with them, there's jokes about the game world that they're in. But the vibe of those books is a lot darker than mine, or a lot more snarky. And so that's why I included T. Kingfisher and Becky Chambers, because I think their writing style and their mood is similar to mine. So I'm kind of mixing and matching.
Did you ask GPT to come up with books that were similar?
No, I did all that research myself. Because I know what these books are. So it was easier for me to guess than trying to train the chat bot to what my book was and then asking it to look. But that would be another solution there. And definitely when you're looking for comp titles, that's probably a good place to start too. And then Renee also did this in ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. So I got fantasy reader persona, Alex Morgan, demographics, age 35 to 42.
You named him?
Yeah. That way you could also do multiple people. Like I could have divvied this up a bit more and I could have one version that was the gamer and one person that was like the boy band. So I'd have
It's just funny that they gave them both a first and last name.
Mm-hmm. And in this case, it's non-gendered.
You are correct.
I specifically wrote this up so it wouldn't be, I wouldn't tell male or
It
female.
does sound Western, like a Western audience, though.
Yeah. So education, bachelor's degree, possibly in the liberal arts or communications. Occupation, works in a creative field, marketing, design, education, or mid-level management. Income, middle class, has disposable income for books and hobbies. Location, urban or suburban area with access to bookstores and gaming shops. What did you get for yours?
So I put in the same prompt in ChatGPT, and it told me it loves this already. It's giving chaotic good energy with nostalgic heart and a side of magical mayhem. I don't like you, ChatGPT. It says the reader persona. It gave us various different ones. So reader persona, the nostalgic nerd who grew up cool.
Okay. So we got like actual like title things here. Who's that person?
Right. The name is, did it too. Oh my God. Jess. But could also be a Sam, Alex, or Morgan. Gender neutral or fluid names. Is there like a database of these names somewhere? Because that's the same names that
It just went to the baby naming system and just looked for names that showed up in both the genders.
It's so bizarre. Okay. Age, 30s to early 40s. Same answer. Pronouns, any. Oh, that's nice. Occupation, creative field. Writer, designer, teacher, librarian, or tech adjacent job with a geeky twist. Like game developer, data analyst who DMs a campaign on the side.
Well, that person's cooler than my person.
A game developer is probably not a cool person. I'm just a data analyst.
Way cool.
ChatGPT does not know what's cool. Let me just say. Okay. And then it gives us the psychographics and personality. Psychographics. That sounds creepy. It's, oh my God. So this person, Alex Morgan, is still emotionally recovering from the day Zayn left One Direction.
No, let's not call him Alex Morgan. My persona is Alex Morgan. Yours is Sam.
Sam, I'm sorry. Well, it gave examples.
It did.
And it was Alex and Morgan. Okay, so Sam is still emotionally recovering from the day Zayn left One Direction, but will claim to be over it. Wow. Hashtag life goals. All right. Grew up on fanfic and probably wrote some about their favorite boy band, saving the world or falling in love with a barista mage. Sam loves meta humor, genre savvy characters, and sincere emotions wrapped in absurdity.
I like that.
Yeah. Huge appreciation for queer-friendly, inclusive storytelling, the kind that's welcoming without being preachy.
So going back to mine, I also had other characters. They had the reading preferences, enjoys character-driven narratives with humor and heart, appreciates fantasy that doesn't take itself too seriously but still has emotional depth. So this is nice. They're hitting similar things. Let me see if there's anything really good there. Enjoys both physical books and ebooks, possibly subscribers to Kindle Unlimited. Often listens to audiobooks during commute or while doing chores. Then I also categories of current lifestyle. Belongs to at least one book club, either in person or virtual. Active on social media, particularly Instagram, Twitter, X, and possibly TikTok for bookish content. Do you have anything about like where the person's active?
There's fandoms and interest. Is that what you want?
Yeah, sure. What's their fandom's interest?
They still play or at least talk about D&D, Baldur's Gate 3, or Critical Role. They devour books by T. Kingfisher, Becky Chambers, Tasman Muir, and watches Dimension 20 like it's a lifestyle. Finds joy in musical nostalgia. Boy band bardcore. Okay, this word core is driving me nuts. You just take a noun and you add core to it and somehow it's a trend. Love stories with magic and pop culture. Probably owns a "This is my adventuring hoodie" or emotionally attached to fictional characters mug. Oh boy. Yeah. So
mine has a subheading, pain points. Limited time for reading due to adult responsibilities. Occasionally feels nostalgic for the immersive reading experience of youth. Sometimes struggles to find new books that hit the sweet spot between humor and substance. May feel that some contemporary fantasy takes itself too seriously.
Well, pain points.
I've also got a category, how they discover books. Recommendations from friends in D&D groups. Book talk or booktube videos. Goodreads or Storygraph recommendations. Fantasy book subreddits, newsletter subscriptions from favorite authors. If you like this, you may also enjoy algorithms on retail sites.
That's actually kind of cool. It tells you where to market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where they are. Are you on TikTok, Kim?
No.
We are old, dear listener. This is a problem. This is a problem. Okay. So one thing I found interesting about ChatGPT is it actually gave me the next prompt we might want to use,
which is
a prompt suggestion. It doesn't say, "Do you want me to help?" It says, "Want me to help flesh out a few variations on this persona for marketing segments. And then in brackets, this is like TikTokers versus trad fantasy readers versus podcast listening book club folks.
So one of the things we were speculating on was maybe the reason why it has this particular tone with you is because we fed it the back blurb of my book at some point in the chat, and it kind of like absorbed the style of my writing and is giving it back to you in the same way.
Does that not disturb you? That kind of disturbs me a little bit. You know what?
Would it disturb you if you had fed in your own memoir stuff and all that, and it had kind of responded to you in your like less pop culturally, but still sarcastic with kind of a knowing feel to it?
That would bother me, yeah. Yeah, it would just bother me because my eye in writing is still a writer and I'm not always engaging with people in that tone. In fact, I shouldn't be. I'd get in a lot of trouble. Here's an idea. Should I just type in, please don't talk to me like that anymore? Talk to me in a normal tone.
You could probably do that, yeah.
Should I?
You give it a try.
I mean, it needs to be told, right? Please don't talk to me in that tone. I am an adult. Thank you. All right. Ooh, I'm afraid it's kind of rude, but this thing is being kind of annoying to me. So I'm just like, oh, got it. Thanks for the heads up, and I appreciate the clarity. Here's a straightforward explanation of what researching keywords for Amazon actually means and how you can use that information effectively. Thank you. So sometimes you gotta lay the smack down on ChatGPT.
Renee's ChatGPT is now crying in the corner.
Well, oh, and now it's giving me like full sentences. Would you like? It's not speaking in slang. Would you like help compiling a starter list of key phrases tailored to your book based on its themes and comps? Thank you. Yes. Yes.
So my persona also asks why your book appeals to them. The Portal fantasy elements appeal to their sense of escapism and D&D imagination. The tone hits their sweet spot between funny and emotionally satisfying. They recognize and appreciate the trope subversions from their years of fantasy reading. And I will say that there's a certain amount of complimentary bit here because it's basically saying your book does all this stuff and here's a person that appreciates you.
Oh, it did say like kind of where you would find this person, right?
So then I asked, that's great. How should I reach out to this person on social media? And it gave me bullet points again. It had platform selection. Instagram, create a visually engaging author account with book aesthetics, character art, and D&D inspired content. It said if I want to do TikTok, I should develop short, engaging TikTok content focusing on your book's unique humor and Portal fantasy elements.
At what point is AI like you would just sign into your Meta account and it would just post it for you? You would just say, you know what, 3 times a week, just please post something. I trust you.
I really hope that you don't trust to do that.
No. Or you know what it would do is please send me an email so I can review them before you submit it. Or send me a text through my app and I will approve.
And that kind of stuff is coming. Apparently.
I mean, it's just one step away, right? I mean, imagine it's very easy for them to do at this point.
Right. It just cuts out the human middleman.
Do you enjoy your job, dear listener? Because it might be going away. Oh, God. I'm crying. This is a crying laugh.
So also it says secondary platforms, Reddit. Participate in r/fantasy, RD&D, and related subreddits. It's got Discord and Facebook. So I think I could probably drill in a little bit further and see what information it has on some of those groups or if it has other recommendations to post in. It has my content pillars. We talked about that in the previous podcast.
What is a content pillar?
Content pillars were the idea that you don't want to be doing the same thing over and over again. So you have different buckets to grab from. So you don't have to always come up with something brand new, but you don't have to always be repeating the same thing either. So my content pillars are fantasy humor, share snippets of your humorous writing style, funny quotes from your books, and memes related to Portal fantasy tropes. Not bad. D&D connections, create content connecting your book's themes to D&D experiences. 90s/aughts nostalgia, develop content that bridges your book's themes with boy band eras nostalgia. And behind the scenes, share your writing process, inspirations, and the journeys behind creating your books. So those are basically ideas for social media posts and focus. And they're not horrible. They don't actually cause me to go running away
Right. And it's way more than we had before. I mean, we've been doing this for a half hour and we have an entire marketing plan at our fingertips.
Right. Definitely it gives you stuff to act on.
Right. And way better than I could have done. But here's the thing, people had jobs doing this. Right? Somebody had to at one time come up with these words. What job would that be? A marketer or social media manager or
I mean, companies always had people to do these jobs.
right. And now we're doing it ourselves.
Yeah, but like independent writers, independent artists, they've always had to figure this stuff out. I mean, there was a whole kind of ecosystem of people that helped you do this stuff that would charge you money for it.
But I'm just going to say all of this technology, and by technology, I mean the wheel is technology, but all of this stuff since the 90s. Okay, so think beyond the 90s, the internet, it has turned us into like data managers. Like, this shouldn't be my job, right? Like, I am now my own secretary. I have to input all the things that somebody else used to do. I don't want to spend my time doing that. For example, say you're applying for a job. It'll ask you to upload your CV and then you have to type it in anyway. Like, what's the point, right? You have to type it in bit by bit. Why? Why am I doing these things?
I remember once a professor telling me that getting personal computers was the worst because before personal computers, if you wanted something done, you went to the secretaries and you gave them your notes and they typed them up for you.
Yeah. I don't think this is great. Everyone goes, you can do it yourself now. You don't need those other people anymore.
On the other hand, that darn professor could have typed up his own stuff as opposed to, laying one more thing on top of the secretary.
The secretary's getting paid. That's what it's getting paid for. I'm just saying, okay, so I'm the kind of person that when cell phones came out, not when they came out, because they technically came out like in the 80s, but when everyone started having cell phones, I was very hesitant. I did not like the idea that people could get a hold of me anytime they wanted to. And I'm still kind of there.
Okay, so here's a question for you. How do you feel about, say, like your house stuff? Are you the type of person that says, well, I can just buy a couple of tools and do my own gardening stuff. I don't have to have a ground spirit come in and do my stuff. There's this thing in the house that needs to get fixed. Well, I can figure out how to fix my toilet. I don't need to go pay money to a plumber to come in and do this stuff.
Look, that's just me being cheap, okay? I am cheap. I have had lots of experience in manual labor, and I actually kind of like physical work. So when I do my own gardening, I'm doing it, one, because I'm cheap, and two, I'm just not going to pay someone else to do that kind of stuff. Now, I get what you're trying to say, Kim. You're like, aha, I got her. I mean, the look on her face, if you could see, dear listener, the look on her face is like, that's my point. And my point is, yes, sometimes you want to do it yourself. I don't want to spend my life as an author doing this stuff. I want to do the writing. And I get that ChatGPT is going to do it for me, but somebody already was doing it for me at some point if I got published.
Right, but they were doing it for you for a very short week of time, and then they kind of moved on to the next person. Like, in a way, there is that aspect when you're doing your own stuff. Like, I want to do it my particular way, and I know my book best, and I can look at this stuff and I can say, honestly, I don't really want to do the 90s 1000 aughts nostalgia bucket because it really doesn't appeal to me. Whereas if there was somebody from a book company that was doing it and says, we're going to do the 90s nostalgia, like, okay, I guess that's the way we're doing it.
I guess there's a give and take, right? There's always pros and cons.
I mean, authors have never liked doing marketing, and they've always had to do a certain amount of marketing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, even Edgar Allan Poe, he had to do marketing. We all know Edgar Allan Poe. We've seen the pictures, right? Goth, supreme goth dude, right? That was a persona. I'm not trying to say he wasn't like super goth dude, but it was definitely a persona. I mean, he was doing that on purpose in terms of marketing. And you know what's funny is his audience, you know who his audience was? Middle-aged or retired women. He would make money by going to somewhere like a book club or something, and it would be women for some reason. Lots of women watching him perform The Raven, right? So he figured it out. I mean, unfortunately, not really, because he didn't make a lot of money, and we all know what happened to poor Mr. Poe. But you know what I'm saying? Like, he definitely had a persona, and he was going towards it. I mean, he was writing horror and all this other stuff, and he wanted to look the part, and he did.
Yeah.
So, the other author, what's his name? Oscar Wilde. I mean, he really leaned into that dandy thing. Nothing wrong with that. He was totally gay. And he wasn't exactly shy about it. Unfortunately, he seduced the king's nephew, and that got him into prison. But before that, everyone was okay with it.
Yes.
Right. So he was definitely leaning into that. So I'm not saying authors haven't had to do that, but what if I don't want to go to the town square that is social media? I have no choice now.
Well, do you want people to read your book?
I guess. I read books and I don't really engage on social media. So I don't know.
But part of the reason all those books are around, that they're being bought by the library or they're being displayed in the bookstore, is because somebody else heard about them through social media or marketing and decided to make them available.
You know what I would do if I had all the money in the world and I was a famous author? I would just pay somebody to do all of this for me. I would be like, you know what? You use ChatGPT. You compare it with Claude and the other thing. You do it for me. Then they would do the job. And they would get paid.
And they would be much more efficient doing it because they have these tools.
Sure. But I wouldn't work them to death. Anyway, I don't know where this conversation's going. I'll stop now.
Anyway, so this is how I'm going to dig deeper into this and take a look at some of this stuff. Oh, it also has an outreach calendar for me too.
What?
So it's assuming that I haven't launched the book yet. So it's got the pre-launch, the launch window, the post-launch. So the post-launch is readers spotlights and testimonials. Oh, these are for the social media posts. So these are kind of, if you're planning on getting a new book out, these are the kind of posts you do before the book comes out. This is the posts you do during the week. This is posts that you do afterwards. And then there's measuring success. And then you can track your engagement across platforms, yada, yada, yada. So again, iteratively, if I want to get more information, I'd take these points and I'd ask it to elaborate or to draw up game plans or things like that.
So it gave you your own magic to-do list through Gemini?
Yes. Or this was Claude, but yes.
Sorry, we're using Claude now. Okay, so Claude just went ahead and gave you the magic to-do list.
Right.
You didn't have to use Goblin tools.
Yeah. The prompt was, how should I reach out to this persona on social media? And that's where it came from.
You know what I'm going to do?
What?
I'm going to ask ChatGPT something.
What are you going to ask it, Renee?
I'm going to ask it, what is the bare minimum, but with the most success at marketing this book? That's a very smart, reasonable question. Thank you for talking to me like an adult, ChatGPT. If you want to minimize time and effort, but still give your book a real shot at success, it's still getting kind of weird with me. Here's the bare minimum marketing plan that covers your bases efficiently and strategically. Optimize your Amazon listing. Most critical. Nice. Why it matters. A well-optimized Amazon listing means readers can find your book. 2, launch with 10 plus reviews. Make one good social post and use it strategically. Submit to book promotion sites. Let's do the second one. The second one, launch with 10 reviews. Early social proof. Please do step number 2 for me. Absolutely. All right. It says I can copy and paste and customize as needed. Holy shit. Wow. How to leave a review on Amazon. It tells you how to do it. Social media post to call for reviewers. Oh, shoot. That's amazing. Would you like to help me format the Amazon review? Yes, please. So, okay, I'm pushing it to Renee's limit here because I've got limits, damn it, on how I'm willing to participate in this bot talking thing. What's the dead internet theory, right? All the bots are going to be talking to each other.
Yeah, I like that one.
There we go. You can do that. I mean, if you're going for the bare minimum, it'll do it for you. I'm sure Kim's will be much more effective than the way I would probably do it, but there you go.
What I'm getting here is that it's more fun to do this with 2 people. So when it's time for your book, when you get your agent and you get your contract and we're getting close to your actual release date, we'll sit down and we'll figure this stuff out together and we'll strategize. And
we'll put it on an episode.
Yeah.
No, for real. Like, this is the second time we've come up with this conclusion.
No, I agree. I think there's still a need for people because part of the reason is you've got to have someone say, stop talking to me like a teenager, ChatGTP, and have someone laugh at that.
Yeah, totally. Honestly, this is so much more effective when you have someone else with you. Just like when we had it do like 2 episodes ago, 2 or 3 episodes ago, where we workshopped one of my chapters, right? You said it's really helpful with another person, and I would agree. I'm reading your screen, you're reading my screen.
And that's kind of the reason why we do the podcast together too, because doing it by ourselves would be pretty lonely. And we wouldn't have done it as long as we have done it for. I think there's definitely still a use for people here.
There's definitely a use for people. So
there's hand holding, like physical hand holding, not just like
mental. I'm holding Kim's hand.
Well, anyway, do you want to add anything to this whole
I don't know.
exploration?
I don't think we're done. I mean, are we doing anything more for this episode?
Nope, I think this is about it.
Holy crap, we did finish. Okay, so there you go. Chatbots are taking over the world. Whether you want it to or not, I don't think there's anything people can do. So with that said,
physical hand holding.
With that said, find a friend, pour yourself a martini or a glass of wine, and toast to the end of Jobs. No, I don't know.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Off the rails.
Take care. And if you are enjoying these podcasts, we would love it if you would pass them on to your friends. I think they're really useful podcasts. At the same time, I think they're a little bit controversial, as witnessed by our editorial commentary. And I think it's important to have the conversation. It's definitely important to know that these tools are out there. The thing is, if we weren't doing these podcasts, you wouldn't actually know this was the level of the chatbots. I think it's really important that we're familiarizing ourselves with what AI is doing now. Because the last thing you want to do is go under a rock for 6 months and wake up and find out exactly how much things have changed, because they're changing fast.
Very fast. You know, I was just thinking about Star Trek and how they would talk to the ship, you know, Earl Grey, tea, hot, or whatever. I'm starting to think people were talking to a bot the whole time, right? Computer, you would ask the computer to please do this thing for you.
And the data would do it.
But the computer would, please find this person for me, or please crunch all these numbers and like give us the best scenario, or all of these things. And that's what this is doing, only we have to type. Eventually, we'll just have to talk to it.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how much the computer bullshitted the Star Trek people.
Ooh, interesting.
You know that whole war with the Klingons? Apparently. Anyway, we will finish with that today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a great time in the future world, and we will see you next week.
In the future world.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Words to Write By is produced by Renee Nelson and Kim Smuda-Addo. Our theme music is Roll Back the Carpet by Cool Cat Music. Have a great day.
She finally held my hand, dear listener. We are still in the closet, just letting you know. Oh, the joke. No, I'm just kidding. We're married.
Not helping, Renee.
The look on her face. I still think it's funny.